Hey guys, Ender here, and today we are going to be doing a Blackfish tutorial. Alright, how many times have we been in King of the Hill at spawn? Somebody buys one of these, gets it out on the pad, starts it up, and just goes crashing through everything as they take to the air. I mean, cutting gashes through forests, knocking over power poles, running over helicopters, you know, just hitting everything on the way down, or I should say the way up. And I think it's because people don't really know how to fly this thing. Certainly, there's probably a little bit more to it than meets the eye, and we're going to go over it today. So, without further ado, the Blackfish. All right, some things to consider. Obviously, it's very long. Let's check this out. You can do up to 25 degrees nose up for a flare without striking the tail. Maybe 20 to be safe. But if you draw a line from the bottom of the wheels to the edge of the... that's probably more like 20 degrees, actually. So, food for thought. There's two flight models. Alright, auto vectoring and vectoring. It's kind of like vectoring would be like hitting auto hover in the helicopter, and in fact on my joystick it's the same button to turn on vectoring. Auto vectoring is when the aircraft does it itself. However, in auto vectoring you will not be able to take off straight up and down vertically. Given that this is VTOL, vertical takeoff or landing, you know, that's kind of not ideal. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. And the best way to set up your controls, or at least to understand the controls, so that you can, you know, set the key bindings or control bindings as you see fit. For crew positions, for the sake of King of the Hill, on the hardcore servers that I play on, the only applicable crew served position is the co-pilot, who has access to the FLIR camera, which is right here. But more importantly, and probably very underutilized, is the radar, which is coupled to the FLIR. So wherever your co-pilot is looking with the camera is where the radar is looking. And if you're looking at something, a vehicle, you'll get a radar return on it, and you'll either see it on the right-hand panel or whatever panel you have set up for your radar. And you'll also see it on your heads-up display, which is super helpful. Okay, let's get up in there. Okay. You're all familiar with the cockpit. We'll talk about it here in a second. Start up the engines. Let's turn down that audio volume so you can actually hear me over the sound of the engines. Okay. Alright, let's talk about a couple more things. Starting with the heads-up display, which is the symbology that you see straight ahead out over the top of the panel right now in green. Okay, so a lot to break down here. It's still a little too loud for my opinion. For my opinion, in my opinion. Let's keep cranking this down. There, hopefully you can hear me now. Okay, so for the HUD. Alright, horizontal bar that you see there in the middle, that is the artificial horizon, right? Always stays at the horizon. The little circle is the PIP, the projected impact point, which shows your flight path, or your projected flight path, and where you'll impact should you remain on that flight path. Above and below the horizontal horizon bar are the inclinations of pitch. So 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 15, 20, 25, so on, so forth, -5, 10, 15. Not very useful, to be honest, because you have no reference point. The reference point should be this little W, which is in the very center. It's fixed. You see how it doesn't move? Or sorry, it moves wherever I look. That's kind of like the should be the nose indicator, and if that were fixed to indicate where the nose is pointing at all times, then you would be able to reference these pitch angle bars, right? So I don't really use those to ascertain what the aircraft pitch is. I actually look right here. Okay, the attitude indicator has an artificial horizon, much like the one on the horizon on the heads-up display. Brown is dirt, blue is sky. So if you're pointing down, you're obviously pitch down. Pointing up to the blue, you're pitch up. If the engine nacelles there are at 90 degrees, so pointing straight up, and you're in a hover, if you tilt down, you'll accelerate. If you pull back, you'll decelerate. And if you line up that green bar with the white horizontal line, then you will be perfectly level with the horizon and you will hold a hover. Or you'll carry whatever speed you're currently at if you're at 90 degrees on the engine nacelles. Okay, so flying this, I actually utilize my panel's attitude indicator quite frequently. And on the right side, you're going to get your, the right side bar there is going to be your vertical speed indicator. Left side is going to be your altitude indicator, and that's radar altitude, so that's meters above the ground, I believe. It might be speed. We'll find out here in a second. I can't remember, to be honest with you. Also, you have landing gear indicator. Bottom of the heads-up display where it says gear, that's also indicating that the landing gear's down. Another place to look is up on the top left on the status board. You see the wheel icon kind of on the left side there. That also tells you your landing gear's down. All right. I was talking about the radar earlier. I got it set up in the right-hand side panel. I'll demonstrate that later on. Heads-up display again. Okay, very top of the HUD, you have horizontal bar with numbers. That's your heading. Right. Currently, the aircraft is oriented bearing 184 degrees. Now, wherever you look, you'll get a number inset inside a polygon there, and that shows what direction you are actually facing with your head, that you're actually looking. So keep that in mind if you're looking somewhere and you need a quick reference. There you go. It's right there in your heads-up display. Moving down, and on either side of the heads-up display are two circles with numbers in the middle. Okay, on the left side you got 0. Left-hand circle is your speed. It's your airspeed. Okay. Right-hand circle is your altitude in meters above sea level. So you can actually utilize that to maintain straight and level flight relative to sea level. As long as that little hash mark, which on the altitude indicator is about the 2 o'clock position, isn't rotating counterclockwise or clockwise, you are at a level altitude. Rotation clockwise will show an increase or a climb. Rotations counterclockwise will show a decrease or a descent. On the left hand, the speed gauge, same thing, increase with a clockwise rotation, decrease in speed with a counterclockwise rotation. Indicator says radar on. I'm not going to really worry about that because I don't really do a lot of flying where that is pertinent. You got grid coordinates in the very bottom right. So 100, 117 corresponds to my grid location. See it there, 100, 117. And the time, which matches my wristwatch. It is 10:35 and some odd seconds, 10:36. Bottom left, 240 is the amount of countermeasures you have, the flares that you have. Countermeasure burst, I don't know how to change that. I'm sure you can change the way your countermeasures are deployed. Not a big deal. Okay, and very important gauge just above the countermeasures. You got a side profile of the Blackfish with that T on top that's kind of cocked forward and the number 72 degrees. Okay, that corresponds directly to your engine nacelles and the angle that they are relative to the wing. Okay, so I'll call it the I'll refer to that as the engine icon. Okay, and above that also is a oh shit I'm not at 90. Okay, above that is the well, here. There we go. Above that, you see that number changing from 0 to 100? That's your power gauge, okay? That shows how much power you're currently using. Okay, so you can see that I rotated the nacelles to 90, and I'll talk about what you got to do to rotate. Okay, earlier I said that there's two flight modes. One is vectoring, one is auto vectoring. Okay, currently I am in vectoring mode. Vectoring mode can be denoted by the status board up on the top left of the screen. Do you see the up and down arrows with the rotor arc between them? You see how I'm popping that arrow on and off? I got that button keyed to the same button I use for auto hover in helicopters. I use a Logitech Extreme 3D Pro, and so I got a cluster of 6 buttons on the left-hand side of the joystick. It's the one on the back top, or the back right, which is right where my pinky finger rests when I'm clutching my throttle. And to change the angle of your engine nacelles, you key bind or control bind the flap up or flap down controls in the settings. Okay, I don't have HOTAS, so I don't have a lot of buttons at my disposal. And so when I was trying to figure out how to set up the controls for the Blackfish here, I found that everything I wanted to do to be hands on my joystick at all times was conflicting with other controls I had already set up. Whether it was targeting, selecting, whatever. So I found out that you can set up a modifier button and get dual functionality out of all the buttons on your joystick. In fact, you could get triple functionality out of all the buttons on your joystick by setting up a second modifier, which I haven't done, but just know that you can do that. And I'll show you what I mean here in a second when I go into my settings. Okay, so we'll do that right now. We'll go into settings, show you controls. The Blackfish is categorized as a plane. So, okay. I fly with joystick. You got nose up and down, bank left and right, which are set up to my Logitech axes. Fast forward, increase thrust, decrease thrust. You see I have nothing there. Okay, so if you're flying with a joystick, just delete those. Mouse and keyboard pilots. I don't know what you're going to get out of this, but I'm referring to the joystick flight here with Track IR. So, but you can bear with me and figure it out. Hopefully you take something away from this, but this is for joysticks. I use thrust analog on my slider control. So, for analog throttle mapping, note both plus and minus axis need to be mapped, which in my case they are. Speed brake. This is a super important control. Logitech stick button number 2. That's where my thumb rests, okay? That I use all the time when I'm flying the VTOL. Left pedal, right pedal, self-explanatory. It's a twist on my joystick. Left turn, right turn, more for keyboard flying. I don't have that set. Auto vectoring on, auto vectoring off, okay? I got this set to button 21. I don't know why it's labeled button 21. When I look down at my joystick, it's actually button 12 as it's labeled on my joystick. Okay, set the same button because it's a toggle. Okay, same thing with gear up, gear down. I got it toggled, set to button 7, and that is actually labeled correctly on my joystick. Flaps down and up. Okay, these are the ones that are going to either change your flap setting on the wings when you are in auto vectoring mode, or when you're in vectoring mode, this is going to be how you change the angle of your nacelles. Okay, so you can see here, Logitech tip button number 20. Okay, that's my modifier. That's what I call my modifier. I press and I hold button 20, which when I look down at my joystick, it's actually button 11. It's the button just below my auto hover or vectoring button. So it's readily accessible to my pinky when I'm holding my throttle. All right, so I click and I hold that, and then I use my hat switch to rotate the nacelles or the flaps up or down. So in the case of flaps down, I hold the modifier and click my hat switch down, and the flaps come down. Flaps up, I got my modifier, button 20. I click and hold, and then I hit my flap switch up, and the nacelles rotate up, or the flaps go up. Okay, and I will demonstrate that right now. Okay, notice the engine icon down the bottom left of the HUD. I'm holding my modifier. I'm clicking up. There we go. We're at 90. Right? I'm also in vectoring mode. Now, when you're in auto vector mode, you can't manually change the engine nacelle setting, but you can rotate your flaps up and down. Okay, I'm holding my modifier. Flaps are going down. See that? When you're flying hardcore mode and you want to know if your flaps are up or down, there's an icon on the top left on the status board. You see that? That little angled line right there? Flaps are coming up. Okay, there's 15 degrees, and flaps are coming all the way up. There's 0 degrees. So you see that? Now they're going to go back down. Watch up in the top left to see. Flaps down, 15 degrees. Flaps 30 degrees. All right, and there's no indication on the panel for flaps. Okay, so I like to fly with the flaps down. It gives you a little bit more extra lift in the long run. I'll only really pop them off when I get the nacelles rotated all the way forward for fast forward flight. I'm going to pop it into... Well, okay, first of all, check this out. When you are in auto vectoring mode, which is the mode I'm in right now, which is where the aircraft rotates the nacelles for you, the only way you're going to get those to go straight up and down is if you hold the speed brake button. In my case, button number 2 where my thumb rests. I'm holding it now. You see that? Now, I can add my power in. You see my power coming in over the engine icon? Huh. They rotated forward on their own even though I'm holding the button. Now I'm going to let go of the speed brake and see what happens. They rotate forward, and as we accelerate, I'm going to bring my gear up. They come forward on their own, right? That was all automatic. I didn't do anything there. Okay, power's going back out. We're going to whip it around. As you slow down, they'll automatically rotate up, but you have to maintain, you have to manage your throttle setting to actually make sure you stay airborne. Otherwise, if you slow down too much, you'll fall out of the sky. But in auto vectoring mode, whenever you hit the throttle, it'll make the aircraft want to go forward more than up, if that makes sense. So, I actually hardly ever fly around in auto vectoring mode. I actually only come into auto vectoring mode whenever I want to change my flap setting. So, I'm going to go into vectoring mode. Alright, watch the top left status board. Vectoring mode in 3, 2, 1. There it is. We're in vectoring mode. Nacelles always default to 15% whenever you switch between the two while you're in flight. When you're on the deck, they automatically go, the lowest they can go is 72 degrees. So we'll bring it down for a landing down there. I'm going to hold my modifier. Now I'm hitting my hat switch down to bring my Rotation up. You see I'm at 75 degrees on the engine icon. I'm looking at my attitude indicator on the panel. My attitude is level with the horizon. Okay, watch my speed, which is the left-hand circle there. I'm going to hit my air brake. You see my rate of speed has increased, deceleration. Okay, below 150 kilometers an hour, you get a very high descent rate, so you got to really get on the throttle. Anything up 70% or more is good. So there's my my pip, right, which is how I denote my descent angle. If it's below the artificial horizon, I'm descending. If it's above, I'm ascending. If it's splitting it, I'm more or less level. Landing gears coming down. You see those little circles down there? Those are radar returns on vehicles. Okay, I'm full power. I'm at 75%. I'm hitting my modifier. Now I'm at 90. Still got a high power setting. And it's just going to take some, went to 75 here to scoot forward. Now I'm back to 90. It's going to take some practice with the throttle work. It's very, very heavy on the throttle. It takes a lot of throttle to get it to stay in the air, basically. Okay. Nice and easy. I got a lot of aircraft behind me, so I'm going to scoot as far forward on the pad as I can. There we go. Now I'm going to let it settle. Not bad. Okay. So, power's coming back in. Takes a couple seconds to spool up and get airborne. There, now we're airborne. I'm watching my attitude indicator on the panel to make sure I'm holding a hover, or at least staying vertical, not accelerating or decelerating. I'm bringing out my power now to arrest my climb. There. Now I'm holding the hover. Turn rate, as you probably already know, is atrocious in this thing when you're in a hover. Not really much you can do about it. Okay, from a hover, I'm going to rotate the nacelle forward. There's 75. You can see our speed's increasing. Pitching up or pitching down will help you change your altitude. Climb or descend. All right. Rotate forward to 60. That bar out there is a runway, by the way. I'll show you the ILS system here in a second. There's 45 degrees, and we'll stay at 45 for the flight over to the airport. Okay, have you ever had the landing gear down and noticed those big crosses? Okay, landing gear's coming down. The landing gear was down, my bad. Alright, as we get close to the, there it is. Okay, so this is your ILS indicator, instrument landing system, right? Correlates to that runway right there, whatever runway you happen to be close to. A little lightning. Alright, fly to the bars, okay? You see how the horizontal and the vertical bars have hash marks along them? Alright, there's a hash mark in the middle of either bar. You want to line those two middle bars up with each other, okay? You always want to fly to the bar. Okay, we're crossing the runway center line, and you see how the bar just switched? So you fly towards the bar, right? So that the bar slid left, which means I want to fly left to line up with the center line. And the horizontal bar is low, which means I want to point down, fly towards the bar. I'm going to rotate to 75 here on the nacelles. There they are. Okay, nice steep descent. As we approach the runway, the extended imaginary runway center line, the vertical bar will start to move to the center. There it goes, once it's lined up with the middle. I'm lined up with the runway. There, it's coming back to the center. Rotating to 90. There, you see how I have the center bar? Well, before I got over the runway. Let's accelerate away from the runway here and go to the other side. Where the bars should populate my heads-up display again. Nacelles are back to 90 degrees. I'm going to go nose level to carry my speed, utilizing my power to maintain altitude. Okay, I'm going to rotate around. There comes the runway icon in sight, and soon enough, should get my ILS bars. Okay, I'm going to pitch nose up so I can back up here and see if they'll populate. It's funny, for some reason the ILS only works when you're coming from the other direction, which is bogus. Especially since you can't actually follow the glide slope, because it would run you into that mountain. Well, anyway, now you kind of know what those are for. We're going to move on. Rotate the nacelles forward 75 degrees. We're going to head on over to Georgetown. I just rotated all the way front. I'm going to pop into regular flight mode to raise my flaps. Flaps are up. Going back into auto vector, which automatically puts them at 15 degrees, so modifier and hat up. Now we're cruising. In this case, relatively slow for what the Blackfish is capable of. I'll show you the effect of the speed brake. Okay, you see us, we're accelerating. 350, 60, 70, 380, 400 kilometers an hour. I'm going to bring the power back and maintain 400 or thereabout. I'm utilizing my altimeter, the top right circle, to maintain my altitude right now during this turn. So if I see a counterclockwise rotation, I pull back slightly. If I see it climbing, I ease forward slightly. Old Georgetown. Okay, watch the speed, okay? We're at 400. I'm hitting the air brake.
Unknown contact. Grid 100.
See how quickly it's slowing down? Now watch when I let go. We start accelerating again. I got about 4% power on right now. I hit the air brake again. I'm going to go, oh, I'm in vectoring mode, so we're going to stay in vectoring mode. Hit my modifier. I'm going to go to 60 degrees on the rotation here.
Unknown contact. Grid 100. 117.
All right. Power's all the way out. Once you hit 150 kilometers an hour, it starts to really drop out of the sky. So that's when I start adding in my power. And I utilize the pip on the screen to figure out my descent rate. I went to 75, now I'm at 90. What's that? A helipad? Okay. I got pretty, a lot of power here. Gears coming down. Pretty high nose up here. I got the wings tilted. I got a lot of right pedal to keep my nose pointed in the direction I want. Wings are tilted to the left to side slip. Okay. We're holding a hover here just outside the pad. There's my pip. It's coming into view, which means we're going forward now. All I got to do is tilt down when I got the engines rotated at 90. I got a lot of airplane behind me, so I got to go as far forward on this pad as I can. I know that the tower's on the front side of the pad, so as long as my cockpit doesn't go past the tower, we're good. Okay. I just lost sight of the pad. There it is. Okay. It's all about reference points, people. Pick your reference points. I knew that that tower, relative to my reference point, which was the end of the pad, which you can see a sliver of right there. So I knew that my rotors wouldn't hit it. The rotor arc doesn't go past the front of the fuselage. In fact, the rotor plane kind of intersects where the pilots sit. So if you look 90 degrees to your left or your right, as long as there's not obstacles passing 90 degrees in front of you or beside you, you'll be fine to clear obstacles with the main rotors. And I will show you another showcase of that. Power's on. Hold a hover here. Using power inputs to maintain altitude. Nose up to slide back. Kicking out the right pedal to rotate. Now I'm going to go start rotating the nacelles forward. Cool, man. Rotate forward here. My flaps are still up. Gears coming up. When I'm flying around King of the Hill, I actually kind of like to keep a slight angle on the nacelles, just so I don't get crazy speed. I mean, this thing will accelerate up to 300, no problem. Get you to the AO real quick. And then I like to keep it nice and slow on the way back so I can bring it in for a landing. So in forward flight, you use pitch to control your altitude instead of power. Power to control speed. But in a slow flight or a hover, it's power to control altitude and pitch to control speed. So at some point, there's a paradigm shift that you have to be aware of. Okay, we're going to actually rotate all the way forward here. There we go. I'm going to crank the throttle up to 100%, and we'll head on over to the next showcase. It's a freaking cool looking bird, man. Approaching 500 kilometers an hour. Roll to the left, I add a little left pedal. Reference my altitude indicator in the top right to see the way the gauge is trending to control my altitude when I can't see the pip. what do we got here? Do a flyby and bleed off our speed. Power's out. I'm just going to let it decelerate on its own. Is that a helipad? Confined area landing? Alright. Okay, I'm hitting my air brake now. I'm going to start rotating my nacelles up. I'm going to go to 60. Power's coming in now, since I got a steep angle of bank here. Okay, I'm getting to that zone where now I'm going to have to start using power for altitude and tilt for speed. Not tilt, but pitch. Alright, I'm going to go to 90 now. There's 90. Flaps are still up. There. Flaps are down. Gears coming down. Tilting up to arrest my speed, right? Because I control speed now with pitch. Altitude with power. Right? Power changes make the pipper go up or down. Okay, I'm looking at my attitude indicator. Okay. That line in the concrete there, as long as my cockpit view is to the left of that. I gotta scoot it up. Ah! Fuck. Oh no! Oh, I screwed up. I screwed up! No! I looked over just a little too late to see my rotor. Let's go out there again. Let's do it again. So, vector's on. Tilting the cells up. Bringing in my power. It's got to spool up a couple seconds, and then we're airborne. I'm going to rotate to 75 and pitch straight up. Rotate forward. Oh, shit. Mountain radar side. Rotate forward. There we go. We're at 30, which will be okay for the approach. I'll get it up to 300, and then we'll slow it down as I cross the boundary of the island. There's 310. Alright, I went to vector mode to do my flaps. Auto vector mode. Okay, we're going to rotate back to 30, or 45 is fine. Gears coming down. Air brake is on. We are decelerating. Even nose down, you can decelerate. Okay. Going to rotate up to 75. Air brake has been on the entire time. Power's coming in now that I'm approaching 150 kilometers an hour. We're going to 90 now. Just rotate it to 90. Power's almost fully in. You see I got about 80% there. You see it over the engine icon. Got a nice turn rate in here. Oh, that's a much better sight picture for the landing here. Okay, I've transitioned now. Flight modes. Now I'm controlling my speed with pitch and my altitude with power, or descent rate in this case with power. Okay. Nice and easy. Gonna carry my speed down by pitching forward. Gear's still down. Okay, I just hit my center line. And I'm gonna set down. As long as that didn't cross my boundary line, which is 90 degrees to my left. Okay, we're 90 degrees on the nacelles, which is very important in a confined area takeoff. Power's coming in. Pitch up to slide back. Okay. Neutral pitch now. I'm going to kick the pedal out, rotate the nacelle forward to 60, 100% power. Gears coming up. And we're out of there. That was a lot smoother. All right, a nice leisurely speed of about 100 or 290 accelerating. We'll go out to the mountain radar site, which should come into view here. There it is. And I'll try landing there. Wait till you see that. Okay, flaps are coming down. All right. Vectoring is on. Air brake is on. I'm going to bring it up to 60. Oh, 60 on the nacelles here. Actually, we'll go to 75. Power's full out. Air brake is on. As I hit 150, I'll start adding my power in. Air brake is still on. I'm going to do a nice slow orbit. Recon my landing zone, which is obviously going to be that pad right there in the middle. It's going to be a tight squeeze. Looks like I'm going to have some trees on the left side that I'm going to have to squeeze the wings into. Right side engine and wing will be pretty clear. Air brake's on again. So I'm going to have to come in on the right side there and slide in to the left. I'm going to have to scoot as far forward as humanly possible to keep the wheels on the pad there. Okay, we're at 140. We're going to go to 90 now. Going to bank in. Still got some forward airspeed here. I got full power for the turn. Otherwise, this thing will drop out of the sky. Now I'm modulating my power to control my descent rate. Gears down. Okay, now I'm utilizing my pip. Okay, I'm no longer using the speed brake. Just let it go. Now I'm utilizing pitch to control my speed. And power to control my descent rate. So I anticipate being able to see that kind of like silver box still out of the corner of my cockpit. As long as I line up with that staircase there, it should be good. There were no light poles on the edges of the pads here. A little too far left. I'm going to slide right. Tilt forward. Okay, there, that's good. Right there. Right, I told you that was my reference point, and I would be able to see it out of the left-hand side of my cockpit. Let's see how we did. Not bad, if I do say so myself. Not bad at all. It's all about reference points. Okay, nacelles are at 90, confirmed. Power's coming in. I'll get into a low hover here. Playing with power to find my hover. Slid back just a little bit there. I'm going to rotate now. Should be clear of that obstacle. Okay, I'm going to rotate the nacelles to 75 and go full power for the climb out. Gears coming up. Clear the mountaintop, and we're going to rotate full forward and go to auto vector mode. Flaps are coming up. Alright guys. Final landing and we'll call it good. Flaps are coming down. Auto vector's on. Vectoring is on. Landing gear is down. Nacelles are at 45. Confirm visually and via the indicator. Want to keep your approach speeds below 150 if you can. Going up to 75 now. Okay, transitioning to that phase of flight where power controls altitude, going to 90. I got my air brakes still on, I'm still holding it. I just let it go. My reference point is the edge of the pad over there. Now that I can see that, I'm going to slide left so I can center up with it. Okay, that should be good, and we're going to let it settle. You know what? Too easy looking at it from this side. Lots of reference points. We're going to come at it the other way and see what happens. Coming at it the other way, we're going to have to worry about this building right here. But that should be our only obstacle, I think. Yep. Okay. We're at 90, confirmed visually and with the indicator. Power's coming in, full 100%. I'm going to pitch up, rotate the nacelles forward to 75. Kind of gives you this like nose up attitude, which I think is kind of cool looking. You also get a little bit more turn rate this way. Alright, all I got to do now to accelerate is pitch the aircraft forward. We'll keep him at 75 for the recon here. Actually, we're going to have to go 90 so I can get a better angle here. Pitching forward. There, now we'll rotate. I got full right pedal. Hit my modifier, just rotated to 90 degrees again. Okay. I'm either going to have to swing wide to the left and slide into the right, or just come in high above the dome there. What I'm going to do is rotate the whole aircraft to the left here. That should clear my wing. I got to pitch forward for speed. Wing is clear. Now I'm going to rotate. I got to make sure I don't fly past the platform here. I always got to keep it in sight. Not as good as I hoped. That's okay. We landed on it. All right. That's all I got, guys. I just wanna... There we go. Yeah, look at that. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you got a lot out of it. I hope you saw that you can really get this thing into kind of tight spaces if you know what you're doing. And it's good fun. It's a flying tank. This thing will take a beating and really protect you up there in the cockpit. So, you know, think about that next time you're flying around the AO. Sometimes you can actually get this thing on deck. If you know what you're doing, and get your passengers down safely. I wouldn't suggest it. It is lumbering and slow, and it does attract a lot of attention. But I'll show you some of that gameplay later on. Alright guys, this is Ender. Hope you enjoyed. Signing out.